Hi everyone, my name is Praveen Vanka, and thanks for joining me today to learn more about Kasten. In today's topic, we will focus on monitoring and alerting and leveraging Prometheus metrics to define alerting rules. Backing up your Kubernetes application is an essential part of the development process. When you run a backup and import or restore manually, results are instantly available. You simply check your dashboard to see if the backup was successful or not. But what happens when we run backup as part of a policy? Things are not as transparent. Everything runs in the background while we're completing other tasks. And if something goes wrong, we're usually not notified or we don't know about it until later on when we finally go ahead and check the dashboard to see its status. While we may think everything worked like the way it's supposed to, things can often go wrong, and when this happens, the application is no longer protected. Now, backups can fail for very various reasons, and as such, we recommend implementing alerts when you move to production. While developers use different alerting systems, and there's no true one way to set up alerts end to end, with just a few configuration changes, we can implement alerts that go directly to your incident system. Now, Kasten features a Prometheus instance that stores several metrics. We use these metrics to produce graphs, as an example, on the storage usage, as well as to provide detailed information for detecting other events. Customers can scrape our service to grab appropriate details. We also have a quick way to view these via appending the URL to directly view stats in the dashboard. As an example, here's one option on how you can check the K10 service status directly from the dashboard. But this is a high level, it doesn't give us more details. So generally, we leverage Prometheus and scrape the config to get more detailed information and metrics for the pertinent details that we want. In this video, I'll walk you through on how to set up alerts to be sent directly to a Slack channel. The same steps can be taken to send alerts via email or to another system such as ServiceNow, Jira, PagerDuty, so on and so forth. We'll configure AlertManager, which is a Prometheus component, to send alerts to a Slack channel in 4 easy steps. The first one, we'll go ahead and create a new Prometheus instance in a new namespace and federate it to the Prometheus instance in the Kasten.io namespace. We'll go ahead and use the federation URL of the Kasten Prometheus instance to spin up the Prometheus instance in another namespace and grab metrics that way. The second option, or the second portion, is we'll go ahead and enable webhooks in Slack, which allow you to send messages directly to a Slack channel, which is what we'll configure AlertManager to do. Part of the operations, which I've already done here, is we'll have to go ahead and create a Slack channel and enable the incoming webhooks to ensure that is activated. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and create a Prometheus and AlertManager rule to make sure that they're configured properly. And the last thing is we'll go ahead and go through a scenario to ensure that it works as expected. So let's dive right in. I'm going to switch over to my cluster. Here I have a 3-node cluster. It's got a few applications and K10 already up and running. As mentioned, we can look to the K10 dashboard to see that all of the K10 services are up and running currently. And once we configure the Prometheus and AlertManager, we'll go ahead and simulate a failure to make sure that it works as expected. So what we'd like to do here is go ahead and create a new namespace. We'll go ahead and add the Helm repo, which probably already exists. If it doesn't, we'll go ahead and update things. Let's go ahead and review this Prometheus file because this is the configuration file which we'll use to go ahead and install Prometheus into the new namespace that we just generated. Everything here is more or less generic with some changes. What I think we should focus on is this section, which is a Slack config, which tells Prometheus to use the specific webhook that was configured for this channel. And the channel I created is called Kasten K10 Alerts. And this is text that you can customize based on your needs, because in a production scenario with many applications, there can be different types of failures, and you'd like to easily identify which application may have failed. This follows a Golang format, so there's documentation online which will help you define what you need. For the purpose of my demo in our example today, we'll just leave things default because we're only simulating one failure and we know exactly what that's going to be. So we'll go ahead and quit out of this and install Prometheus using this values file. We can watch for pods in the monitoring namespace to ensure they come up properly. All right, so Helm says the installation is complete. We'll just make sure that all the pods are up and running, which they are right now. We'll go ahead and exit out of that. Now, the next thing we want to do is go ahead and create a monitoring rule. I will quickly explain what this Prometheus rule is saying. It's basically saying, hey, go ahead and alert me, and we'll call it Kasten jobs failing. But really, what it's saying is in 2-minute increments, look for any action or any report of a failed job and alert me into my Slack channel. And we'll do this for every minute. So if I can copy this, oops, don't need that. Make sure it's copied properly. Go ahead and inject it. And we've successfully created the rule. Now, let's go ahead and verify the solution. So the first thing I want to talk about is what application. So I've got 17 applications. You'll get a list of applications, the compliance status, things of that nature here. But really, I have misconfigured a Maria MySQL application in here, and I purposefully misconfigured it so that it triggers a failure. So what we'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and take a backup. I'm going to see if there's a policy for this. And there is a policy, so we can go ahead and run this. And it should fail. So we'll see a job get kicked off. And quickly in the gray, I know it's going to be failure, but that's intentional. So we'll just make sure that we'll just let it fail. And as it's continuing to run, which will eventually fail after 3 retry attempts, it will show us an alert with the failure. So in the meantime, let's actually go to the AlertManager service just to ensure that we're seeing the expected alerts. So this is on the second retry times 3, and it will soon fail. So let's run this and then go to the local host over 9090 and refresh this. So now we'll see that there are some potentially there's supposed to be alerts here. Right now, it it's just looking since the job just failed. It's gonna wait 2 minutes before it responds with the failed count. And once the failed count goes to 1, then it's gonna fire off an alert. Let's refresh this. All right, there you go. See one job fail. It's in pending state, which will then turn into a firing state, which will then fire off an alert. There you go. Now it's in firing state, and pretty soon, once this is done, we should have an alert in our alert manager. Or sorry, we should have an alert in our Slack channel. All right, so I believe we've had enough time, so let's go check our Slack channel. You see that I'm in Praveen K10 alerts, and there you go. It's 1:21 right now, and we just got an alert that says, MySQL, we're monitoring that, and there's a failed backup. Well, as you can see, we've successfully um, created a simulator failure, configured Prometheus and AlertManager to fire off alerts into our Slack channel. As mentioned earlier, you can follow these steps to integrate and fire alerts into your specific monitoring system. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, thanks for joining me today.